Welcome to another episode of the JBK Show. On this week's episode, we've got a huge guest all the way from New York, Barstool's very own, your girl's journalist, Jack McGuire. Thank you for jumping on with us, bro.
No, thank you for having me. This is my first podcast with anybody from down under.
We're big fans from down here, so appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah, what's it say on your sweater? Is that Michigan State?
Michigan State, yeah. Go green.
No, that's crazy. Wait, why are you wearing a Michigan State sweater?
I attended the university.
Oh, I actually have a rivalry with on Twitter, which you guys probably don't even know my Twitter persona, but I had a rivalry with the Michigan State fans and I said their football coach was paid too much money, and then they started calling me names. We had a back and forth, but now I have some respect for them.
He does earn too much money. But Mel Tucker, he doesn't do enough.
He does not, but that I did not expect. I was looking at it. I was like, that's definitely a Michigan State sweater. And then
the Spartans. Yeah, Nick and I both attended colleges over in the States. He went to Michigan State. I went to Oregon State. So we thought we'd wear the colors for today. We know you know your colleges. We watch your content. We love your stuff over on socials at Jack Mac, especially on TikTok and Instagram. You've given your tier lists of chicks to avoid from certain colleges. You know your colleges overseas. I've been following, you stay away from girls from Trinity College, stay away from any girls from Arizona. Why is your knowledge so good when it comes to colleges? Are you from New York?
I'm from Connecticut, and then my parents are both from Brooklyn, and all my family lives in New York. So Connecticut, which is very close to New York, it's like I grew up 2 hours from New York City, 2 hours and a half in West Hartford, Connecticut. Connecticut's one of the few states in America that doesn't have any professional sports teams. We have a WNBA team, but I mean, obviously, shout out to Connecticut's Sun. But my vast knowledge, I mean, I've always been obsessed with college football and college basketball. And then once you go to high school, and I went to two separate high schools in America, and you meet a lot of people and you see who goes to what school, and then you visit them and whatnot. And you pick up a vibe, and then you pick up a vibe on social media as well. So, yeah, stay away from, Trinity's a small liberal arts school in Hartford, Connecticut. You stay away from those schools. Arizona, you can have your fun down there, but be careful. It's better to find a girl from Oregon State. Michigan State's like in that zone where I don't know.
I think you're right. Oregon State, you can find some more family girls out there. Arizona, you go down there, you have some fun with the Sun Devils and those girls. You just can't trust them.
Not to put any slide on people from Michigan State, but they were a party school and I enjoyed it.
Michigan, you can go to thousands of universities and have a worse time than you would have at Michigan State. I mean, it's definitely up there as overall, one, a good school, two, it has all the sports, and then three, it's the party school. I mean, so Michigan State's a school that if I could go back in time, I would definitely consider.
Well, I want to talk more about your backstory because, like I said, your content's been killing it on social media. Over 500,000 followers on TikTok. How long have you been working at Barstool? I think it's something over like 6 years. How did you make your way to working for Barstool Sports? We're big fans of Barstool here in Australia. We don't have a Barstool Australia. But yeah, so how did you start working at Barstool?
It goes back to when I was in high school, I would write blogs just for my friends at high school. It really wasn't much. None of them gained any traction. I probably made 5 to 6 of them. They just all were none of it was good. And then when I was in college, I went to Fordham University, which is in the Bronx near where the Yankees play. And I went there with the idea that I wanted to try out stand-up comedy. And I did stand-up comedy for 2 years at school and in New York City in the open mic scene. And while I was doing it, started to realize and look around. I was like, first of all, this is really, really hard. Stand-up comedy is brutal. It's a really hard grind. And I saw what was going on social media and was like, I think I can do something else. And then I started my own college football blog that was supposed to give the spin of comedy and whatnot from the perspective of the game. And then from there, I also did one that was more of a blog Instagram page that was more connected to the university I went to, Fordham. And I would sell shirts. Like I would make like shirts that I thought were funny. None of them really took off, but some of like, I sold like a couple hundred. And then that was enough to get an interview at Barstool Sports as an intern. And then once I got it, I was like, all right, I'm going to stop doing this other stuff and just do Barstool. And then, Barstool's its own journey, but that's how I got to Barstool. I was an intern starting sophomore year of college, second year until the end, and then I got hired full time.
Is this one of those American internships where it's slave labor, unpaid internships?
No, Barstool actually paid me, which is amazing. There's a lot of those unpaid internships that you're right, very American, very like you got to work for it. Barstool paid me, and I'll tell you what, it was good money especially for a college kid. I felt like I would have worked there for free, but they paid well, especially for an intern.
What's the process now of someone wanting to go work for Barstool and be talent like yourself? Because they've gone through some crazy amount of talent. Your Alice Coopers, Pat McAfee started there. What's the process of being talent there now?
So when I started, like as an intern, I got an intern interview. That was before Alex Cooper ever walked in Barstool. Pat McAfee was still an NFL punter. The Dave Portnoys, the big cats, they were there. KFC, they were there. But it was small. Like I lucked out. It was just timing, And then now it's much more difficult. I'd honestly, suggest to somebody, if you really want to work at Barstool, getting hired as talent is much more difficult than starting on social or producer or graphics and once you're there and you're inside the building, you can then kind of, work on your own content. But I'd also, if you just want to be a content creator, Barstool's great. Barstool's always looking for new talent, but you can make your own talent yourself. Like it's a creator economy. And I would just say, make your stuff. And then once you feel like you establish something, send it over to Barstool, send it over to people that work here, and then something could be worked out. But it's so much different now than when I started. I lucked out. I really did.
That's pretty cool. The talent process is hard. They even did a kind of look into their interns where they did videos of interviewing the interns to be the next interns at Barstool. It's pretty sick, and it looks like they got a really cool culture over there. What is El Presidente like? Because we see how he is on camera. What's he like behind the scenes? Is he still kind of running the show over there, Dave Portnoy?
Yeah, Dave is still heavily involved in Barstool. He makes, I don't know officially, but it feels like he's still number one El Presidente. And he's who he is on camera, off camera. Obviously, he turns it up a little bit because he's a showman. But I don't want to interact with him that much. I try to hit the less calls you get from Dave, the better, or texts. So, but he's always been incredibly nice to me. He's obviously a tough boss, like anybody. You don't really get to the point that he's gotten by being like a pat you on the back type of guy. But he set up this whole place, right? It's kind of crazy if you think about it. And he just has a weird way of identifying talent. I wasn't hired by Dave, but some of the other people that were hired by Dave just out of nowhere that have become superstars is very impressive. And he almost has like a Midas touch, a magic touch, where he just and then for whatever reason, he just knows it's a talent in itself.
Is he still as heavily involved as before? I know they sold and they got Penn Gaming and all that, but is he still as involved as before?
Dave's still incredibly involved, especially with Penn. But Penn owns the company now. The Penn Entertainment, which bought Barstool back in 2020 and then bought it fully recently. They I believe, can make all the decisions now. So his power is not as big as it once was, but that comes with, getting $100 million payment like he did. So, but he's still heavily involved. And he's still I think he's a Barstool lifer, hopefully. God knows how many people he really what he brings into the company how many people that employs, right? Probably hundreds. I mean, he's a superstar.
And like you said, the talent he identifies, I think he was one of the main guys that brought Caleb Presley on Sunday Conversations. He was just the
Yes.
coach of morale at college, and then they brought him into Barstool. Now he's interviewing Drake, which is crazy, like when you think about it.
No, like that's another one. Caleb, I mean, talk about another superstar. There's a lot of guys here that are just not that they came from nothing, but they were just kind of like niche. And then Dave, for whatever reason, decided that person has it. And a lot of the people that he says that about, I mean, you said Caleb. I mean, Alex, do you remember Jenna Marbles on YouTube?
Yeah.
She worked at Barstool initially. Did you know that?
No.
No. So Jenna Marbles was initially a Barstool Sports employee and then went off on her own. Now she's kind of like finished. She did all her content creation. But I mean, it goes as far back as Jenna Marbles. Like, I mean, Jenna Marbles, Alex Cooper, Pat McAfee. I mean, I don't know if he's as big in Australia as he is in America, but he's massive. Like his YouTube numbers are insane. He started with Barstool. Obviously, he was an NFL player, but I mean, Dave was like, no, you come work for me. And then God knows how much money that cost Barstool at the time. And then Pat went his own way, but I mean, he'll always be a part of the Barstool story without a doubt.
Yeah, no, we follow him down under. He's pretty massive. During those COVID years, he was watching some Australian sport. He got into the Aussie rules, and I think a lot of Aussies got on board Pat McAfee there, which was he's hilarious, and the stuff he does with WWE, he's a crazy talent, and he doesn't stop too, which is good to watch. But what are the stresses of working at Barstool? I remember a while back you were posting on the social media for Barstool to an audience of upwards of 6 million across their social media platforms, right? You're handling the social media posting. You fuck up on a social media post, and you got to deal with the aftermath afterwards. What's it like posting to these millions of people, and then you got the stresses of am I putting out something wrong? Am I making a spelling mistake, or is this the right information? What happened there?
Yeah, I still do that for my job currently, not as much as I used to, but I'm still tweeting out. Like I could log into our Twitter. I'm not logged into our Instagram, but I'm logged into our Twitter. I could tweet out a photo of us right now. I'm not gonna because I'll get yelled at, but it's the stress. I mean, it's all relative, right? Like there's stress at work, but like it could be a lot worse. Like everyone's stressed. Like there's right now, right outside me, there's a ambulance or something or going past the office. Like that person who's working in the ambulance is probably stressed and a lot more stressed than I am. So, but you're right. You tweet out to 5 million. Not everyone knows it's you, but then Dave will say it to you because you messed up. I tweeted out there was the international football series when the Giants played somebody in England, and there was a guy on the sideline in a helmet, and it was a Duke helmet. And this is a guy I thought was just a Brit, right? And saw like a Duke helmet online. It was like, that looks close enough to a Giants helmet, blue colors. And I tweeted that out. And you have to remember that game is at like 10 in the morning in America. And I just worked the previous day because it was college football, midnight to midnight, or noon to midnight. And I was so tired, I just tweeted it out. And I went to my mother's brunch for her birthday. As I'm going to it, I see a tweet from Dave, and it said something along the lines like, which idiot tweeted this? And then I get a bunch of texts. And it turns out, so Daniel Jones, their quarterback, did go to Duke. I wasn't thinking straight at the time. But then this is a fan of the Giants that goes to every game with a helmet on. And it's a different helmet every time. And that's why he was wearing the helmet. It was actually an American. It was an American fan. And then I was called an idiot. It was the whole thing. It blew over. But I mean, in the moment, I'm at my mom's brunch for her birthday. And, my mom's like, why are you on your phone? And then Dave's calling me an idiot to all of his Twitter followers. And then the other person, like my boss, is calling me an idiot to his Twitter followers. And then I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not missing any other tweets from the game. So it's like it's more chaos than anxiety, but it's a certain person that enjoys it in a way. I wasn't, I should have been better in that moment, but also it's like, Daniel Jones throws interceptions. Like I can throw an interception once or twice, and that didn't cost us any money either. I could have said something bad there. It was just making fun of a fan.
That's just bad luck. I mean, any consolation, they were versing Green Bay that day, and I had a lot of money on Green Bay, so we both lost that day.
So do you guys gamble a lot on NFL?
Yeah, I do.
I think any sports you could probably gamble on, we'll do it, bar the obscure sports like ping pong and whatnot. NFL, NBA, we've got rugby league down here. What
Some
else?
baseball, I'll try and dabble in, but mostly Australian sports and then the big American sports.
And horse racing is massive here in Australia as well. I know you got the Kentucky Derby coming up. You're going to head to that?
Yeah, that's on Saturday. I've never been to the Kentucky Derby. This weekend, UFC is actually in New Jersey, so I'm going to go to that. That should be fun. I'm a big MMA fan, and horse, like obviously, I'll bet on the Kentucky Derby, on the Barstool Sports book and enjoy it. But I'm not I like going to there's a track, the Belmont Stakes, which is one of the Triple Crown. That's actually on Long Island, and it's pretty close. But that's kind of like a big event for like 18 to 22-year-olds to go to. So it's kind of like, unless you're in the box and you're really rich, it's not like in the middle where you're just like, you can enjoy it. It's like a 19, like you're going and there's a bunch of 19-year-olds like not knowing how to handle their liquor.
We got to get down there. We have our Melbourne Cup, which is like your Kentucky Derby. And then, we have other races like that, the Everest in Sydney, where they're kind of big events and a lot of young people get dressed up in suits, make a day out of it.
I remember seeing, the videos you did at it. I remember, I think, didn't you say it's like the most bet on like event like in the world or whatever?
Yeah, it would be.
It is, yeah. It is. Melbourne Cup. It's called the race that stops the nation. And even if you're in high school, the teacher turns the TV on at 3:00 and all the kids have to watch it. They all got to pick a horse. It really starts from a young age here in Australia.
I shouldn't laugh.
But I want to talk about how you make your content because, like I said, you're killing it on social media. You come up with all these different content formats. They're really fun to watch. I remember one of the most recent ones, Lay Fabrications. You go through all of LeBron's crazy lies throughout his careers. What makes you kind of start a series and how do they eventuate? And do you wait for fans to go, okay, give me more? Or what's your content creation process?
I don't have that like crazy of a process. There's a lot of things that like I'll try and don't work. And I'll be like, all right, this isn't working. Like people aren't catching on to it. Sometimes I'll try to do something and it just won't stick. But the LeBron lies, I'll like you'll do it, and then you'll see, oh wait, like this one's doing well. I'll do part 2, and then you see part 2, then it becomes a series. Sometimes I've thought more recently, and this is more from like a sales perspective, how can I make something that's really sellable? Because obviously, I work at Barstool, and Barstool's whole point is to make money. And obviously views and likes are amazing, but you want to make stuff that is easily sellable. So the series aspect is very something that I've been thinking more recently about. How can I do something that I can present to like another company? Obviously it wouldn't be me, it would be sales at our company, and they could be like, hey, you could easily be integrated to this. I did something recently with the Sydney Sweeney, Glenn Powell. They were doing the movie in Australia, and I did a whiteboard, and like that's something that I thought about recently where I'm like, oh, that's easy to sell, or not easy, but it's something that's sellable. It's like, oh, while I'm going on the whiteboard, like I could be drinking a certain drink. It's like I drink this caffeine drink to get me ready to do my journalisming. But a lot of my content creation, I just see something and I'm like, oh, that's funny. People like it. And how I've realized to learn a lot of the things that I think like, oh, people will like that on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok is because I worked so much on that social media side of Barstool, where it's like behind, quote unquote, behind the scenes, where you're tweeting out from an account, or and you're seeing what does well on Instagram, what does well on TikTok, and then you kind of like just pick up on things. It's like when you guys do a bunch of your stuff, it's kind of like, oh, I know this is going to work. Or sometimes you'll record and you'll be like, that may not be it. That may not be the one. But you have to go through a lot of those like cruddy ones to really find something that really sticks.
It's very trial and error. I got to agree. You don't know which one's going to work and which one's going to pop off.
And it's mostly topical.
And yeah, you kind of go after a lot of things that are topical. One of the funniest ones that you got to explain to me is the quarterbacks in the transfer portal. If you want to know where they're going, what college they're going to go to, you got to see where their girlfriend is at college, and they're going to end up there. Is that what's that matrix? Is it true? Does it still hold up to this day?
Okay, so the transfer portal is you guys may know, and just quickly, it's like with somebody at an American university plays football, they want to go from Michigan State to Oregon State, they have to go into the transfer portal. And last year, before the season, there was just a crazy run of guys leaving their schools and going to their schools, going to the school where their girlfriends were. And a lot of them were and that's very common, like athletes date athletes. So the quarterback at a certain school would be dating the quarterback at Nebraska. His name was Adrian Martinez. He was dating a girl who went to Kansas State. And while he was at Nebraska, his situation wasn't perfect. And he was like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to the transfer portal. Everybody's saying, oh, where's he going to go? He's visiting this school. He's visiting that school. But then he goes to Kansas State because his girlfriend goes there. Now, would I suggest that to a college quarterback? No, I would say you should be single for 5 years when you're a college quarterback. Okay,
Make the most of it.
You're the king of the campus. Like there's very little comparisons. Obviously, incredible fame, but there's very little comparisons to going to one of these massive state schools or schools in general and being the quarterback and being the guy everyone knows. Like I went to Fordham. It's like Division II football. Look, everybody knew who the quarterback was at my school. Like all the girls wanted to go with football players, and those guys don't make it to the NFL. And it's bigger when it's Michigan State, Oregon State. Like the football players are the guys. And when you're the quarterback, so don't be like, why you? I mean, I guess maybe it makes you better. It makes you more focused. You're not out chasing tail, but you don't even have to. You have the world by like the balls in college when you're the quarterback. You run that university, that campus, and you're just like, oh, I'm going to date a girl. Like, come on, dude.
I don't really understand it. We have a similar thing in the NRL here. If you want to know where a son is going to end up or a player is going to end up, they usually follow their dads. So we have Nathan Cleary. We'll end up with Ivan Cleary at Penrith. Billy Walters will end up with Kevin Walters at the Brisbane Broncos. But we haven't really had a player follow a girl. Maybe Cooper Cronk followed Tara Rushton. He broke up the big three at the Melbourne Storm. So maybe you're onto something. That's unbelievable journalism.
How truthful is Blue Mountain State then to actual college campus?
Okay, so that's like the extreme version. That's such a funny show. Like even it came out when I was in high school. Like I thought that's what college was going to be. Blue Mountain State, like it has its like how true it is. It's like probably not that true, but I mean, geez, man, it's getting a little bit harder now because like back in the day, at least from what I've heard from stories of guys and whatnot, like the glory years for these kids was that 2006 to 2012 when there wasn't really social media. You could really like, if you were the quarterback and you were really drunk, the only people on like acting a fool, the only people that really knew about it would be like kids on campus. And then it's like kind of an urban legend at that point. Now, like I've heard from a lot of guys, like the football players at these massive universities, they're like, we don't go out. They're like, it's not safe for us, which is crazy, but it's because like everyone knows who you are. They'll record you. And like, then your coach gets on you. Like, I don't think like a lot of like Devonta Smith when he was at Alabama, and he got drafted by the Eagles first round. He won the Heisman Trophy, which is the top player in college football. I bet he didn't go out like ever at Alabama. Like, but there's just no point. Like maybe once in a while, maybe they have their own parties, but it's like too risky. And then once you get into the NFL and you have some money, you can go to places where it's like, you pay so you don't get seen. But these colleges, and then the coaches are crazy strict, man.
Yeah, I could imagine for Devontae Smith, Nick Saban would have killed him if he went out.
Yeah, or like, like that's why when the Henry Ruggs situation happened, and you'll hear Nick Saban talk about Henry Ruggs, the player who unfortunately was drunk behind the wheel, got into a massive car crash. But Nick Saban talks about him like he was like an angel. And that just goes to show that one bad decision can ruin everything. But those are the guys that go to these top schools. And that being said, there's still like guys who are trying to live up the Blue Mountain State life. But it's not as prevalent as it was 2006 to 2012 when it was like there was no cameras. Like, there was, and as long as you showed up to practice, like you're good.
Even like rushing for a frat isn't the same as it was as it is in the movies, in all the college movies nowadays. It's all watered down. There's no hazing. They got to be careful, or they lose all their things from the college, and it's not the same. It's PC culture.
Yes, and it's like they're so nervous. I mean, these kids have to go to, like, people are like, oh, Alabama kids probably don't go to class. Like, I bet those kids go to class all the time. I bet from what I've heard from top tier college football programs, like they have like assistants that are graduate assistants that get paid like dog shit, and their job will be to keep an eye on star players, and the star player won't even know. Like Nick Saban will be like, "Where were you last night?" And then this player will be like, "Oh, I was home." And then the Saban will be like, "No, you weren't." And there's like, "Why didn't you go to class?" Well, back in the day, there was like, it was so much easier. And not even back in the day, this century, it was so much easier. But phone, social media, they changed everything.
I think a perfect example of that, I don't know if you remember when Zion was in college and that whole Snapchat thing came out where he was sending a girl a Snapchat and that went viral.
Yes,
that was a perfect example of how you can't be a superstar in college anymore and enjoy yourself.
There's no, like, even that, people are like, what's he doing? It's like, he was just like hitting on a girl on Snapchat. It wasn't anything bad, but that's it. And now TikTok even changed it even more because anybody can go viral. So like, and that's great for the, creator economy. If you want to create your own stuff, do it. But for a college athlete, the girl that hooked up with you in freshman year, she's going to make a TikTok about you, maybe even lie and say like, oh, he was like weird in bed or whatever. Like not in a bad way, but like just like, oh, and then they make a TikTok and then it's the biggest joke on Twitter.
That's social media for you. It's a crazy world, bro. And I don't know if it's going to get any safer out there for anyone in college or anything like that. But another thing that was massive for me, I think that's what initially got me onto you, Jack, was the green line theory.
Yep.
Now, shout out to Rivellini on Twitter who coined the green line theory. But you brought it over to TikTok and you broke it down for the common man to understand. And this is one of the funniest things. And when you think about it, the most accurate things, the green line test, for those that don't know, look at a photo of your friends and with their girlfriends, or look at just a photo of a male and a female together. And if the person that's leaning in and the person that is upright, the person that's leaning in is the lesser person in that relationship. If the male's leaning in and the female's standing up, more than likely that relationship isn't going to end too well. And that's what you've pointed out. You've pointed out countless examples. You've had the Tom Brady, Giselle. You've gone through those. You've had Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. You've shown all the photos. How crazy was pointing out the green line theory on your socials? Because that I think was one of the catalysts for you that kind of blew you up.
Yeah, no, shout out Rivellino on Twitter. He's awesome. He's the guy that really came up with the green line test. And I just did it once. It was for a Kim K, Pete Davidson photo. And for whatever, like it just people just loved it. And yeah, it really has to do with like the male and like, and if you think about it though, like if your buddy's leaning into his girlfriend like this, it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like it's like get yourself together. Like what? And so, for the most part, the green line test is, comedy, but there's a lot of truth in it. And I think especially, a woman going like this on the shoulder of a man, it's like, oh, she trusts him, like she adores him, which is like what relationships should be. But if she's standing stiff or like leaning away from the guy, that's not good body language. Like that doesn't show to me that you like that person. So there's a lot of truth in it. And obviously, it's not like a perfect science. We're looking at photos and drawing lines. But Rivellino, and I've talked with him a lot, and he's really, sometimes people are like, you stole this from Rivellino. It's like, no, I mean, I credit him all the time. And Rivellino tells me all the time, continue to like push it out there. I don't know who he actually is. He's completely anonymous. But so he could just be like an internet troll somewhere in the basement. But his green line test is like, it fascinates people. It's really, and on TikTok, I was the first one to take it there, and it really, yeah, you're right, it blew up.
He's an anonymous genius. We don't know who he is, but then it's pretty much like a body language test. But then you add to it with Rivellino as well. There's all these other rules after it which you don't know. Because I took a look at a lot of my friends' photos with their girlfriends and their misses, and you can tell. I'm like, oh fuck, are you really leaning in? It's a shame to see it. I thought you were a straight stander in this relationship, but then there's all these other rules that you pointed out, like the claw is massive, where a woman's holding over and she's got the arm around him. That just means she's the controlling person in that relationship, kind of like the mum, and telling him what to do. The claw is huge. And then one that I just found out recently that you pointed out, the box test. What's the box test?
The box test is like, if you're staring at the girl, right? Let's imagine it. I'm like over here. Like, if she's, it's so funny to talk about, but it's like, if her box, like her, pussy is facing the world, it's not really like, quote unquote, yours. It's like, it's the relationship, really. But if she's turned towards you and you're like, bring her in kind of thing, it means like the box is yours. It's your present. And then the claw, I think the claw is the most important, because if a girl puts her arm around you like that, like you at a certain point as a man, you have to have some respect for yourself. Like take the like no, like that's what my mom did to me when I was 5 years old. Like that's where the claw, and so like there's mother tendencies, and then it's like, do you really want to date your mom? I mean, I don't know. That's your decision, but I would not recommend it for my friends. I would be like, hey, buddy, like.
The worst part of all this is I can't innocently look at a photo of a couple anymore without analysing it with the green line test.
Without drawing the green lines.
It's just an automatic thing to just know who's more dominant in a relationship.
And, some guys like being a little bit more of like, quote unquote, beta or however you want to describe it. And then, but I've had a lot of people tell me that. And I think, and it's a lot of one of those things, it's one of those like things you'll talk about. And, that's the thing that like women will tell me the most. Like they wouldn't say it publicly, but they're like, that's right. I don't want my guy leaning on my shoulder. And like, they won't tweet about it or put it like comment it, but like they'll say like, hey, that's not attractive. And so that's what goes to the test. That is like, if you can't pass that, then does she really like you, or she's just kind of, looking for her next move? That goes back to the box test. And she's still in transit, quote unquote.
It's a science to live by.
Yeah, you're not going to catch me leaning anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think strictly now. Every time I take a photo, I got you in the back of my mind. I'm not getting green line tested of catching me leaning.
But yeah, so just to clarify, box test. If the box is away from the male in the photo, she belongs to the streets. If the box is pointed towards the male, it's a happy and thriving relationship. But yeah, so we're trying preach that in Australia. I don't know if the box test has made it down here, but we'll get it going.
That's huge.
Now, TikTok live dates. I feel like you pioneered this. I know there's people that go on TikTok live and they do these battles, and it's kind of big down here in Australia, but I feel like you pioneered the first of its TikTok live dates across, you'd find these girls on Instagram, you'd set them up. Some of them are absolutely hilarious. How did you start the TikTok live dates? And do you still have the riz?
I hope I still have the riz. I have to do another one. I have another one planned, and then I have to do another one. I just thought of it one day. This is one of those like content creation. I was like, oh, this would do well. And then I thought to myself, like, I phrased it as the first of its kind. That's more of a like marketing tactic. However, I then thought like I probably like thought of this kind of subconsciously because that does happen on Twitch a lot. Like Aiden Ross does it. I think Kai Cenat, they all will do the Twitch dates. So after doing it, I was like, oh, it's probably the same. But I mean, it's essentially that. Like, essentially, I was trying to do it to try to see if I had the quote unquote riz. That's how I like marketed it. And then also, if a woman goes on a TikTok live date with me, she's probably willing to like, say some things, like make it funny, because you wouldn't do that if you were just like a normal chick that doesn't want to be seen.
Yeah, 100% right. And I mean, like, yeah, it was kind of like those Twitch guys. I don't know what's going over on Twitch now, but I feel like that e-dating scene is kind of it's moving all over the place. They got Kick now. It's kind of everywhere. So, I mean, keep it up on TikTok Live. But we're looking to head over to the States soon for the NBA Finals. We're hoping maybe for a Boston Suns Finals would be nice. Or even a Boston Lakers, just to throw
Boston
back to
Lakers,
the old school rivalry would be pretty sick. I want to ask you, as Aussies, now we've seen your tier lists and they're great. You've got a lot of knowledge, especially when it comes to colleges and places in America. What are the top 5 states to hit up in America? What are the top 5 states to go to as an Aussie in America? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, you're not. Top 5. All right, so I would definitely go to Florida, Miami, even up to like the Boca Raton, Del Rey area. I would say you should go to New York. I would go to Texas, and I would go to Austin, Texas, or Dallas.
Bit of a party in Austin, Texas nowadays?
Yeah, it's a little like, I think it used to be a little bit cooler, but, well, that's a different discussion. But then I wouldn't go to Chicago.
Too dangerous. Looks like it's too dangerous down there in Chicago, Chi-town.
And it's just, you're not missing much over there. Then I would go to Cali for sure. Like it's just, California is like just synonymous. And then what would be my 5th state? Because we've hit all of the states, like all of the sides. Yeah, go to Nashville. Yeah, that's perfect. Nashville's almost better. Nashville or go to Vegas. That's like you could trade Texas for Vegas, but Vegas isn't very like America. It's almost just like it's like own party scene. Nashville is fun.
I feel like you can't live in Vegas. You can only do max 5 days in Vegas before you've lost all your money and you're being approached by too many prostitutes in casinos.
Yeah. Yes. No. Vegas, definitely a place to have some fun. But I mean, Vegas will run through you. At least in those other places, there's a little bit more, wholesome things to do, such as, you're in LA or like Santa Monica, you go to the beach and whatnot. Vegas is just around the clock. Casino, pool party, club, like your money's gone.
Because all I see from people in the States now is everyone goes to Nashville. People have their hens parties there, bachelor parties. They all go to Nashville now. Is that like the new Vegas?
People call it Nash Vegas. So yeah, like I would say it's the South's Vegas. It's a little bit not as club heavy. It's bars and there's a lot of them. The thing about Vegas is it's a who's who. It's kind of like New York. You got to know people to get in places, and you're gonna have to spend a lot of money. Nashville, it's like, it's an expense. It's a city, but you could go there without like a shit ton of money. especially as a guy. Like as a girl, you could just go anywhere as long as you're hot. But like in New York or Vegas, it's like, yeah, you were at a table last night at a club I can't get into without paying $15,000 to get into. That's fun. No, I haven't been to that restaurant. I've not been to that restaurant yet. So, so uh, it's very. I'm sure Australia has very similar situations in terms of it, but Nashville, like you could go with your buddies and really have a good time and not spend that much money, and it's fun.
Yeah, in Australia, it's more like how the people are. The clubbing scenes are pretty much the same. Like we have Brisbane, they call it Bris Vegas, but like the people are a bit more uptight and arrogant in Sydney. They're probably a bit more friendly in Melbourne, a bit more laid back in Adelaide. They don't really give a fuck, and
Yeah,
no one knows what's going on in Tasmania.
I saw one of your videos describing it. It was a while ago, so I forget the names, but I think it was very similar to that. Like who vacations where or like who goes out where. And it was very like I was like, oh, this is very similar to New York in terms of just like bars that used to be really popular, clubs that used to be popular, and they got shut down. And then like some places are different, and a certain person goes to this place and parties here. But Miami, New York, LA's a little bit different because like New York and Miami, if you have money, you don't have a table. Like you could get it. Especially if you pay enough. Same with Vegas. LA is like it doesn't really. It's more of a restaurant scene. There's not a lot of clubs in LA. Obviously you can find them, but it's a lot of house parties and stuff. People don't go out in LA. It's a very interesting dynamic. I've had friends go down there, and they say most of the people they meet in LA are like sober. Which when you go to New York City, like it's no joke. Like it's the city of alcoholics. That's New York City. And then Miami's nonstop. It's a different addiction.
Well, Florida is it's like the more red state. I know it's like they got DeSantis down there, and they got the beaches and everything like that. We went to Miami. Miami was, I don't know how it is now. We went like a while ago. It was pumping. South Beach was pumping. You got everyone in their rental cars down South Beach, and they're lapping it up. But you pointed out something the other day, and it was women's Tinder profiles down in Miami. For if you're in a weekend in Miami, all the women want to be on is yachts. What's the go? Everyone just needs a yacht now in Miami. Is that how it goes?
It's like very similar to Vegas, where it's like who has a pool party, or like who has a table at a pool party, or a cabana at a pool party that I can go to. Miami, it's just like who has a boat. I mean, like, and if you have money and you're listening to this, and you want to go to America, first of all, be careful, because like I don't. Do you guys us that's either like idolize American women or like what's the reputation of an American woman in Australia?
I think we do like Americans.
We like Americans. Everyone here is a bit scared of the guns that you guys have, and you hear about all these shootings all the times. But apart from that, we do like going down, seeing the big fights on in Vegas, and we love our sports. Anything we can bet on, so we do love Americans.
Okay, so yeah, like if you have money to like rent a boat or a yacht. But hopefully, and everyone loves a boat or a yacht in Miami for whatever reason. I guess it's just like the go-to thing to do during the day there. And it's kind of like, I'm on a yacht. But these women, like, if that was my daughter, well, first of all, hopefully I raised her better. Second, if you're going out to sea with a random person, like, how do you know you're coming back? There's no, like, who knows what could happen out there? I'm not saying that happens in Miami a lot, but like you be careful.
You'd rather be on land with a random person. If you're going to get Tinder swindled, you want to be on land as opposed to sea. You don't know what could go wrong.
You have no idea what could go wrong. And and if he's driving the boat, who knows what's going to happen? It's the ocean.
International waters, laws are different.
Yes, it's crazy. Like, who knows what would happen to you? You don't have service, and you're a 21-year-old girl who just graduated college. Like, be careful.
Frightening stuff. And you guys just had the Met Gala on. You pointed out something I think was pretty hilarious. Is the guys, us men, we have the Super Bowl, we have the big games. For the women, they have the Met Gala. Is that one of the most true representations? It's like this. It's a Super Bowl for women and looking at fashion.
Yeah, they love that show, man, and they really love the fashion behind it. And that's a very, like women, they love their fashion. I mean, it's just, and it's all of the superstars, the celebs. Uh, I don't really, obviously, what a good dress is, and you know what a good, like, a guy, like, looks good or whatnot, but they really, I don't get it, but it's because I mean, I'm not a fashionista, but they really love it, man. It's like, they like people gear up for that, like, and they spend weeks talking about it. Very similar to the Super Bowl.
I feel like it's getting more and more weird. The outfits are like Sam Smith wearing a balloon, or it's
Yeah.
Doja Cat dressed up as an actual cat. And it just
Yeah.
like, is this even fashion now? Or you
Too
guys
much.
is this guy just playing dress up and it's now another Halloween?
I guess it's so there's a theme with the Met Gala every year. And the theme this year was about a guy, I forget his name. I think he was something with Chanel. And he was a big time designer. And I guess his thing was he left billions of dollars or maybe millions to his cat. And he loved his cat. So that's why Jared Leto wore a cat suit. And then Doja Cat obviously leaned into the cat. And that got explained to me. That's the only reason I know that. I learned that against my will. I did not search that out. But that's why Doja Cat did what Doja Cat did. And Jared Leto. But I mean, yeah, it was after like Carl Langfield or something, one of those freaks. Like, I mean, he's a fashion freak. Like, he left $70 million to his cat. He's a freak.
That's why he's your girl's journalist. He's on the front lines as a journalist, getting the best knowledge of Barstool Sports. I want to ask you, like I said, we're going to hopefully head over to the NBA Finals. What's your take on the NBA? Who do you think's going to win the championship this year? Some tight playoff races.
Man, this NBA is like really kicking in the gear. It's awesome. I loved the Steph year, like Steph, KD, the Warriors domination years, LeBron and Cleveland and whatnot. But it's fun to like not know who's going to be there. It really is. And my prediction, I'm really hoping for a Lakers Knicks or Lakers Celtics. I think that's going to happen. I would like if the Lakers continue to go on this run. I really think it's something. I'm admittedly a LeBron super fan, a Bron sexual, as they say. Like I'm obsessed with the guy, and I would love to see him win one more. I think they have the Warriors beat. I'm not positive, but the Knicks, I don't think are good enough. I think it would also be fun, Lakers 76ers. My official prediction is Lakers 76ers final.
Where do you see Boston going today then?
They really need to win this one. But Embiid's back. I think Celtics win this one. But I mean, all the 76ers had to do in these first two games was take one. Even if they were down 2-0, I wouldn't have been like, oh, the 76ers are screwed. As long as they defend their home court, they're fine. And I think they can.
Who do you support?
You're a Knicks fan?
I used to be a Knicks fan. I fell off in my fandom and never got back to it. I just like the NBA. I mean, I just bet on the NBA so much. I just support whoever I bet on. I'm not betting tonight, I don't think. But I'm a daily NBA better throughout the season. So, I hope the Knicks win.
Yeah, true Aussie. Yeah. Don't pick a team. It's whoever I'm betting on. That's who I support.
The cool thing for us is we're more like an Eastern company. We try to expand to the West Coast and whatnot, but a lot of our fans are East Coast. New York, Philly, Boston, and we have a lot of fans in the office. And then also, when those teams win, it helps the company because we sell T-shirts and whatnot, and fans really support it. So I'm hope the Knicks fans are going crazy, man. You see, we're like, I wish I could like, I could take my computer out, but like, we're like, all those videos of them going crazy after they win. We're like right down the road from it. Like it's so like when they win, you go outside the office, and it's like they shut down the avenue, and I can't even imagine if they make a real run. It would be, and they buy a lot of T-shirts. So I don't want the Heat to go any further. I'm tired of them. They're just like boring.
Yeah, I don't really like them either. Another big thing that happened last week, which you put on your TikTok, was Will Levis not getting drafted in the first round. Do you still think that was you stand by your comment saying that he's still a millionaire, he still won?
Well, he is. Will Levis and his girlfriend follow me on TikTok, so I have to be their biggest supporters.
His girlfriend's TikTok famous.
Yes, and Will's been a long time Barstool supporter. He said before he played Georgia this year, he said he was warming up on the field listening to Pardon My Take, the Barstool podcast, which is like, you think he was listening to like some crazy rap music to get hyped up. No, he's listening to Pardon My Take. So, I mean, I really like Will Levis. He's also from Connecticut, the state I'm from. And I also think he's a good guy. He's not like one of these, like, he seems like a good guy. And then his girlfriend's really nice too. And, hopefully it works out with the Titans. I think for whatever reason, he really thought he was going to get picked. And then these things happen where it's just like, this team's close to picking you, and then that team trades away, or there was these 5 teams that were close to picking him, and maybe he was next on the board, but for whatever reason, he just wasn't picked. But that is awkward. That always happens in the NFL draft. There's that one guy left in the room, and then ESPN liked it because his girlfriend and his sister were there that really took over. They gained the fame on draft night.
Yeah, she did go viral for her looks.
There'll probably be a 30 for 30 on it down the line. I guess we'll see. But that whole draft was trying to figure out who's actually the girlfriends of these players in so many occasions. It's like, which one? There's so many girls around. Which one's the girlfriend? Why is he holding them like that? It was a fascinating draft. It always is. We try and keep an eye on it down here, down under.
Yeah, no, the draft is I would say, the most American event, because everyone huddles around a TV to watch people's names be called. Bill Burr has this amazing bit about it, if you guys want to look it up. Like, essentially, I'm not going to ruin his entire joke because I don't really remember it and I would butcher it anyways. But he just said, like, you could just look at the list after, like, the 50 million people tuned into the NFL draft. 50 million. Just to put that in perspective, NBA Finals, if it was last year, Celtics, Warriors, I think it capped out around for one game, and obviously it's one game, not the whole draft, but one game, 18 to 20 million people. Americans are obsessed with football. It's like they should study our brains because, other people are just, you guys obviously are probably the most close to Americans because the English don't really, I guess Germans a little bit do hop onto the football a little bit. But you guys, like, Australia is just another state of America, at least in my opinion, without the guns.
Yeah, we're like 6 to 12 months behind you guys. But
America's brother.
We have 27 million people, and you guys have 50 million people watching the draft. That's the big difference. You know what I mean? Now, that's our whole population watching the draft.
And in the draft, there's nothing special that happens. Roger Goodell, that everybody hates, comes out and says the Dallas Cowboys select. And then people go crazy. Like, the fans start going wild, and they're like, yes, yes. And I'm like, I know who the guy is because I follow college football religiously as part of my job. But I'm like, I know you guys don't know who that is. You don't know who the offensive tackle was from the University of Minnesota. I know you don't know who that is.
But well, that's the thing. So, like, the top 5 draft picks, maybe I'll know because they're all quarterbacks. I think there was one defensive player. But other than that, it just falls off. Most fans would probably be like the average Australian fan that maybe know the top 5 picks because they're all quarterbacks, and then all knowledge just goes out the window after that.
100%. And then, like, the Georgia quarterback, they'll know because he won 2 national championships at Georgia, but he didn't get drafted until later. Stetson Bennett. He got arrested for public intoxication a few months ago. which, I mean, he won two national championships. He can have a little bit of fun.
Well, Matt, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for jumping on, man. It's been awesome to talk to you. Awesome to talk to someone from Barstool in content, always churning out quality content, man. Keep doing what you're doing. What's the plans for Jack Mack? Give us your socials as well for anyone watching this. But yeah, what's the plans for Jack Mack for the rest of 2023?
Hopefully find another thing like the green line test or whatnot, something that I can make more of a series out of. But a lot of the same stuff, just staying on top of everything. Trying to churn out the most content we can. I don't have exact plans. But there's goals, there's whatnot, but nothing crazy. Things are going pretty well right now. And continue to look out. Make sure, I don't mess up. I don't get, I don't get yelled at or even fired or anything. That won't ever happen. But you never know. You could always get yourself caught up in the wrong scene. So you got to be careful about that. But outside of that, you can follow me, Jack Mack CFB, on Twitter and Instagram. And then on TikTok, it's Jack Mack Barstool. If you're watching, you're probably seeing it on the YouTube or whatnot. MAC without the K. But Jack McGuire, this has been fun. You guys have any bets this weekend for UFC, or are you not gonna watch that fight? Those fights?
I'll take Sterling to win, probably win by knockout or TKO. I think that's a smart bet.
Okay. All right.
I
like Aljo. Yes. I like Aljo this weekend. I think he's just Cejudo's been out of the game for so long, but I was trying to think I don't think there's any Australians on this card. Do you guys remember the guy that got knocked out by Junior Taffa, or maybe it was Junior Taffa, Parker Porter?
No.
He was on the card, the Islam Volkanovski card.
Yeah.
He's actually from the town I'm from. He's fighting this weekend, but he went down to Australia and got destroyed.
He got brutally knocked out.
It happens.
Yeah,
that was over in Perth.
Perth. Yeah, I think it was one of the. I think it was Taffa. I forget exactly who it was, but he's fighting this weekend. I don't think there's any Australians or anybody from New Zealand this weekend.
I think we've got Robert Whittaker coming up around International Fight Week. That's our next Aussie fight.
Do you guys like Izzy or no?
Yeah, I like Izzy. I think he's good, but I don't think he won't be able to go up a weight class. He's just good in the weight class he's in. But he's entertaining.
He can't go up to 205. He's not big enough. But he's I was just wondering because of the whole New Zealand. Well, he's not from New Zealand anymore because of Dricus Duplessis. Yeah.
He's wearing a different flag nowadays. Yeah,
Have you guys seen that video of Adesanya saying he's Chinese?
Yeah. It was like
that's one of
it was so weird because everyone's kind of like, so what are you? Are you from New Zealand? Are you Nigerian? Like, what's your nationality? And then he was claiming he's Chinese.
Yeah, he did this video. It must have the government must have forced him to do it or something. It's one of the weirdest videos I've ever seen. But I'm an Izzy fan. He's a little bit cringe, but I mean, he's an anime guy, if you're into that stuff, you're probably a little bit of a freak.
I agree.
No, you're 100% right. Well, mate, if we're ever over in New York, we'll definitely hit you up. Maybe do some collabs over in New York. We'll let you know if we make it down there for the NBA Finals. But no, brother, appreciate your time and keep killing it.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. And whenever, hopefully you'll come here. You can come in the Barstool office. People would love you here. I mean, ultimately, who knows? Barstool Australia would be sick.
We'll pioneer it. We'll pioneer it. Could be the next green line. You never know.